Terraria Calamity, something that I've come to love and hate at the same time, and for 120 hours of my life. 3 weeks of playing this game made me realize how much I love this game and how horrible I am at it at the same time. And with one picture, I can sum up my whole experience. This particular mod tested me more than the vanilla game ever did, and I am proud that a person like me, that's horrible at every single game they play, to even get close to the endgame of this amazing mod. And if you haven't tried it yet, I very much encourage you to play it. But even though I tell you I enjoyed my time, I cannot put into words with my limited vocabulary how much I've suffered and doubted that I would even get past some of these bosses. This mod put my subpar brain to the test over and over again, with no remorse or holding back for my fragile ego. But enough of my lamenting, since I want to get into the good part of the video and show you my suffering. And I was going to play this with 2 friends, but they left me after a single session.
Actually, let me join.
Bro's probably going to join for like a couple sessions and then never again. And I knew I was going to be alone this session, and I was. Little did I know I was going to be alone for the entire recording. But my thinking was along the lines of, oh, King Slime should be easy, right? He's the first boss. But no. This man spawns slimes that poison you and slow you down if you get hit by them. He also has 2 crystals that can hurt you if you get him down to a certain amount of HP. And that's when I knew I needed every single advantage I could get. Oh, 2000 HP. I assure you that I am bad at every game I play, and it's evident when I'm showing you that I'm dying to King Slime all the time, but after a good couple of deaths and not throwing myself at it, my brain actually started to work. Come on, man. Do something. Damn. I need some help here. And I came up with the most amazing strategy I could think of, and that was just switching between 2 platforms from time to time. Finally! My brain increases the size every time I kill a boss. None shall stop me. I shall be the ape. I then got ganked by the desert scourge with these 2 homies coming out of nowhere. And when I saw them, I panicked. The fight wasn't as painful as King Slime because, I just kept my distance and hopped over them like the Olympic medalist I am. The fight was pretty manageable. But that doesn't mean I didn't die a bunch of times and getting ganked. Fight off the fight like this was getting me pretty irritated. We don't talk about the clam because it's a little special. I have Cthulhu, we all know him, we all love him, and it's a staple character of the game, and I surprisingly beat him first try. But this time, he could spit what I could only assume was period blood at me, like I was at a leftist protest trying to ask what a woman is. And I'm mostly just going to go through the bosses that give me the most trouble or the ones that I find cool. Otherwise, this video is going to be too long if I just keep talking about things that don't really need to be talked about. But this brings me to my next point of what an absolute banger Crabulon is. But it's mostly because of his theme song, and I would get down and dirty to that song playing in the background if I could. And I love the song so much, it's in my playlist now forever. And what also does interest me is the accessories he drops. Sir, could you please explain what your talents are? Oh, I suck people off. What? I said I suck people off. Welcome to the team. I'm gonna need you guys to give me a tiny bit of slack here, since recording on a PC is a little different to recording on a PlayStation. But to make it simplified, I just kind of forgot to record the hive mind fight, and the only comment I would have on the fight is that it was pretty annoying. But yay, another gang fight. I love how it just split my attention across the screen, like I'm an overstimulated child looking at multiple iPads to try and dodge numerous enemies trying to kill me. But in general, I like how the vanilla bosses have been upgraded to have more intricate movesets, but I would soon come to regret these words. But after all the struggling and gathering all the weapons possible to beat the current bosses, I could finally make the Deathbringer pickaxe and mine some Hellstone. And at this point, I was happy I got some Hellstone because it's the best pretty hard mode armor for melee. But no amount of items could make up for my lack of skill. My ass, from this point forward, got handed to me over and over as I agonized about the lack of brain power I have to dodge some attacks. And I will do my best to try fight these bosses in chronological order, even if they're no use to me at all. And all I really want to do is prove that I'm just better than some of these bosses in hopes to keep what's left of my tiny ego and masculinity intact, so that I can continue to feel like a man even after all the losses and beatings I've been forced to endure.
I have a joke for you. What is a skeleton's favorite snack? Go on, guess. Come on! Guess! 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 Fuck! Guess! No! No! Ribs! Spare ribs! Fuck!
And we're back with Skeletron beating my ass over and over again, just like in the base game. But this time is mostly because of the skulls he shoots over and over again, and plus he can teleport, which really ruined the flow of me trying to circle around him like I did in the base game. As well as he can also get his arms back at around half HP, which really pissed me off since that means all my hard work is gone. Also, I just tried to use every single weapon available to me, but after dying and understanding the paths of the skulls he shoots, I managed to eventually kill him. I also did fight Deerclops for the first time, and I forgot to do that in my previous video, since I didn't care about him, but lucky me, he was pretty easy. After killing Skeletron, I did get access to the dungeon, and the only thing I got from it was the Muramasa and the Cobalt Shield, which I never actually used, because this mod added such a big variety of accessories, and I'm pretty indecisive sometimes, so in the later parts of the game, I did struggle with choosing on what to use. It made me feel like a kid in a candy store. And I also did find this huge space that looked pretty cool in the dungeon. And I forgot the mechanic was in there too.
Damn, what is that, bro?
After the dungeon, I did fight Slime God, and it was another gank fight, but it wasn't as annoying as the other fights. And like Slime King, I just had to keep switching between two platforms every now and again, and it only took a few tries to kill him as well. And it feels pretty good knowing that I'm slowly getting better at the game. I thought I was getting better at the game until I fought the Wall of Flesh, and it beat me to the ground like I was a woman fighting a man in the UFC, because it was just a constant cycle of me dying, terraforming the place, and making the platform longer while trying to defend myself from the California locals. And I swear I could hear Highway to Hell playing in the background the entire time. But either way, it was still fun fighting him. I forgot that even though I have the privilege of having a PC and can use mods, that it also comes with crashes. And by how my mouse is moving so slowly, I'm sure you can tell that I'm confused on how this happened and why this happened. And after about 80 tries, I eventually got him. Early hard mode, a place where I would eat my words when I said I loved how the vanilla bosses got improved, but here I am getting my ass handed to me over and over as I wonder where I'm going wrong and what else I could do to improve, like I'm an insecure guy wondering how to speak to the local goth girls. Ma'am, would you please do the honor of going out on a date with me?
Police! Police! Help! Police! Help! Police! Help!
And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've spent hours and even days when it came to killing the mech bosses. From how bad I am at this game, I legit thought I would never be able to get past this part. And the fact that these sadistic developers made it so that the hard mode ore only spawns after each mech boss kill was pretty painful. And it basically forced me to get better at the fight without relying on any items, so I just kept throwing myself at it since that seemed to work with every other boss so far. And fighting the Destroyer was like fighting a black woman with all her kids going for and stabbing my ankles while her big-ass body and mouth did the most damage from how loud and manic she is when she yells something about her child support from her multiple baby daddies. And even if I say the developers are sadistic and the fights are horrible and I'm dishing out insults, I still love the game, and the fights are like a dance. And sometimes I don't have the rhythm, or I gain the rhythm over time, and there's other times where I just sometimes have the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. And now is a good time to tell you I don't like bullet hell type of games. But here I am, playing Calamity with bosses that have dedicated dodging sections. Which is a huge problem for me since those are the games that I'm the worst at. And the closest game to a bullet hell I've ever played was Enter the Gungeon, and I barely got halfway through the game since of how bad I was. And at some point I just started not to enjoy myself anymore. But here I am, forcing myself to play, and keep going until I eventually beat the boss or just stop having fun. But after a good maybe 50 to 60 tries, I killed the Calamitous clone. And I'm also not talking about the weapons and armor because there would be way too many for me to go through. And it would make the video extra long if I mentioned every one that I used. But I will give praise, saying that some of the weapons and armor in here are very well designed and cool. And another thing that kept me playing and wanting to progress was the long crafting recipes. Cause when it comes to video games, I love the feeling of upgrading my equipment and getting stronger. I love my women, how I love my crafting, hard to understand and loves to waste my time. And the next boss was Desert Scourge, and all I really have to say about him was that his boss design is cool and the fight was just okay. But the twins, on the other hand, makes you want to dropkick anyone I see, regardless of who they are and what they look like. Every time I thought I could put some distance between myself and them, it proved useless. One of them is shooting at me from a distance and hitting me with no problem like he was the main character in American Sniper, and the other is chasing me down like he was a crackhead in the streets that I refused to give money to, while shooting purple flames that follow me and green flames that give me a debuff. I'm not even going to complain that it's a 2-on-1 fight, but what I will complain about is that to fight them, you have to move in every single direction possible, and I love it. The Brimstone Elemental wasn't really that bad, but I did get distracted. And with the little amount of space there was in the Brimstone biome, I just had to make a really long platform and try my best to keep my distance. But the real problem was Skeletron Prime and his coward's way of calling the other two mech bosses during the fight when he got low HP. It filled me with such despair, and I was agonizing on how I would get past this guy. At some point I got well over 100 deaths, or over 150 maybe, and I didn't want to cheese the fight. Because then I would just be as much of a coward as him. So with that tiny amount of elbow grease, and no, there was no elbow grease, I beat the fight out of pure luck. Because whenever I was dodging, there was still a chance for me to get hit. Everywhere I went, it felt like I was in danger. It felt like I was in a gang-infested neighborhood. This was literally me, live, getting gangbanged. But yeah, I beat this fight out of pure luck, and this will be the only fight that I ever call BS on. And the song, here's the song I beat it to, by the way. Skeletron Prime could die to a roadside bomb in Afghan for all I care. And for anyone that's related to him, I think abortion should be legal, mandatory, and random. And yeah, I went mining after this, but even now the boss still pisses me off to like the largest extent. And this is the part of the video where I'm gonna start hating or loving these bosses a lot. And with this sexy water lady, ma'am, I'd happily crack your legs open like a clam and eat away. I don't have legs. Ma'am, I'd be happy to shake the sheets with you. I live in the ocean. I'd like to put a little bit of my mincemeat in her ravioli, if you know what I'm saying. I don't even know what ravioli is. it was kind of frustrating to me to have to wait for her to respawn every time I died, and I died a lot. And the musical notes she leaves on the arena was really ruining the flow of my dodging, but I'll give her a pass because she looks good. But when this fat fuck came out of the water, I was surprised because it was like the fat best friend protecting the cute girl that I wanted to flirt with. But with its size, I could easily just break its ankles and circle around this whale. And despite Astrum shooting projectiles at me that followed me and ran at me like I was a minor and they were some Minecraft YouTubers, I still think his design is pretty cool, and even the Astro biome in general is cool. And after I got his pattern down and dodged the pedophiles he was shooting at me, the fight was actually fun. But Golem is one of those bosses that I will hate with all my heart and soul. There is no pit deep enough in hell for this boss to go, since trapping me in a small room with this sadistic bastard while his fireballs shoot around and bounce around the place, and his fists leave these residual sparks that do damage to me, and even in his second phase where his head splits apart from his body and the lower body starts going manic as his head shoots projectiles at me, the fact I had to stack dodging accessories upon movement accessories for this fight led me to abandon my love, my baby, my full tank build. Yes, I had a full warding on all my accessories. Why, you ask? So that I can survive long enough to kill it. Cause I have no skill, and once again, I beat the boss out of pure luck.
Cool bug factors.
One day you will have to answer for your actions. And God may not be so merciful.
And I do hate the Abyss. And it's not because it's a bad area, I just have a really big fear of the ocean. And even looking over this footage again gives me a mess ton of anxiety. Yes, it looks cool, and I love the biome, but I hate the ocean. And the sound design in this place is so good that it makes me scared to go down there ever again. I also forgot to mention that I did beat Terraria, but I forgot to record it, as well as I did beat Duke Fishron, but once again, I forgot to record it. So please give me a tiny bit of slack, but Terraria was annoying because of all the green clouds it left floating around, and Duke Fishron was annoying because I couldn't pop its bubbles he shot at me, as well as the random and huge sharknadoes that he does, as well as he does his third phase attack first, and that took a lot of getting used to, and then when he also did his third phase attack in the final phase, I was so close to just not wanting to try him, but I beat him after 150 tries. And the Plague Bringer was pretty cool since it was just a mech'd up Queen Bee, which I thought was going to be pretty difficult by the looks of it, but I was happy to find out it wasn't as difficult as I thought. But like normal Queen Bee, it shot out smaller bees, which was just stabbing my ankles like an angry short person if you insult their height. But either way, its attacks are cool, the designs are cool, and the sounds are cool as well. And then there's just this guy. I don't really know why the developers added him, because it wasn't really challenging, just a weird fight. That's really it. But Empress of Light, on the other hand, that gay pride looking woman that throws her sharp glow sticks at me with lethal intent, is still a pretty fun fight, just like in the base game. And yeah, sometimes I could barely see where the glow sticks were gonna come from because there was so much on the screen. And even with her projectile spam, she also chased me down like I was a man preaching the Bible at a gay pride festival. And as usual, the theme song that comes with the fight is also great. It also just took me around 20 tries to get used to her pattern and actually beat her. And congratulations to Cultus for being a slightly harder boss. And yeah, there were projectile spam here and there, but he went from being a joke in the base game to something worthy of me actually paying attention to in the fight. But he's still basically a toddler with a knife, and wasn't actually difficult at all after you get past all the projectiles he throws at you like he was a baby having a tantrum. And then this worm right here was the most boring fight in the entire game, because bro was just a bullet sponge. And who even came up with this boss, since he just leaves things floating in the air that sometimes explode and sends out projectiles to shoot me in the back when I'm not paying attention, like I just bent down in the prison shower and some random dude came behind me. But I digress. And halfway through the fight, he just splits into two and gains his health back. And the fight was just not fun at all to me. I wasn't even fighting him, I was just fighting against my attention span. Since about halfway through the fight, I just got bored, and then I lose focus, and then die, and I just have to go through all of that again. Not fun, basically horrible boss design. And then there was Moonlord. Not much really changed with this fight. The only thing I did notice was even if I killed all the eyes, it would still stay in there and do damage and shoot out projectiles. And even the top eye was still there, and it forced me to be on my toes and keep my focus the entire time, since I would have to jump up and over the giant laser that came out of him. But he's still a good boss, and now I'm finally in the... Who in the hell could that be? You're in the what now, sir? Nothing? Good. The Profane Guardians. Now this was a cool boss and a cool fight, and each one of them had their own gimmick. And the first one is ranged, and the second one is more melee focused, and the third one is a pretty good mix of both. And they also came at me one by one. It felt like I was in a really respectful street fight. And once again, this boss design was pretty cool, and lucky for me, they weren't too difficult. And the weapons from now on just start to look really cool. And so far, the Arc of the Elements is my favorite. And even if it has a parry, I'm not able to use it since the skill gap between me and dodging consistently is already too wide, and I don't want to learn a parry on top of that since who knows how long it's going to take for me to learn. Dragon Folly was also a really cool boss, but it also was a really close fight the entire time since wherever I went, it followed right by my side, and most of the time I was dodging its attacks by a hair's length, and it also spawned these blades that stop me from dodging. So I had to either test my luck and dodge right through the blades, or test my luck in a different way and dodge around the Dragon Folly. It also spawned these pillars, and as soon as I saw them, it gave me very strong PTSD for the Fishron Sharknadoes, but lucky for me, they weren't as bad. But all it really did was restrict my movements and dodging to a really small space, which took a little bit of getting used to. Providence, the Profane Goddess. Now this is the perfect mix of cool and annoying. Like yeah, it forces me to dodge and puts me in restrictive spaces, but it's not happening consistently and not happening for long periods of time. And the moves and design of this boss is also pretty cool. And it was fun to fight actually, and seeing myself get better and better the more I fight is actually a really good feeling. And little did I know that this would be the last time that I found fun and actually found myself getting better at a boss, because the next few bosses tested me to the moon and back, and my patience and resilience started to wane. But what I also found cool about the Profane Goddess was that daytime and nighttime also had different movesets, so I found the daytime moveset to be easier, so I just did that. And once again, it's another boring worm boss. And guess what, guys? This one also has a gimmick. Who would have thought, huh? But yeah, I hated this boss since the first phase. I had to just go for its tail and I had to loop around the entire time. And it also spawned balls that shoot lightning at me. And the second and third phase weren't any better since ice rained down from the sky. And if I got hit, it slowed me down. And I also had to dodge it while it was chasing me. And then in the third phase, it started to make these really tall pillars that I either had to go all the way above or all the way below to be able to even have a chance of dodging his attacks. I hated every single second of this fight. No jokes, no memes, just pure hate at this point. And another boss that filled me with pure hate. I spent an entire day trying to kill the Ceaseless Void, and at this point, as I said before, I started to lose it. I was starting to stop having fun, I wanted to give up, and it was very much looking like an option, because I didn't want to sit down and attempt the same boss over and over for about 6 to 8 hours a day. I want to be free from these self-imposed shackles and go play some other games. And this was about the third week in, and I was only playing Terraria day in and day out. And at this point, I was running on fumes. I didn't want to get up and play the game anymore. And yeah, it was only like 153 attempts, but there was so many projectiles everywhere. And the thing that made me die constantly was the stupid last phase, where he just negated so much of my damage. It all started to take such a mental toll on me. But Cygnus, Poltergeist, and Old Duke, I somehow killed them in under 5 tries. And all I could really guess was that fighting the Ceaseless Void made me so much better at dodging projectiles constantly. And I even surprised myself to the point that I felt like I was actually maybe getting better at the game, and that the mental toll the game was taking on me was slowly melting away, and I finally felt happy getting better at the game. But it all stopped, and I hit that roadblock as soon as I got to Devourer of Gods. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 attempts go by, and I'm still fighting this guy. At this point, I've been sitting in front of my computer and fighting this boss for 2 days. At this point, with no progress in sight, and there it was, my own skill issue being handed to me on a silver platter for me to see, and I looked at it. I kept dying, and it kept getting shoved in my face over and over again. And then I just called it at 800 attempts, since at this point I just wasn't having fun, and I was dreading even playing this game. At this point I was just a bit over the 3-week mark, but I did not want to keep going anymore. Fighting so long and seeing no progress took that toll on me. It tipped me right over the edge. And even when I used cheats just to get the loot from Devourer of Gods to just maybe keep going, I went for Yauron, and another 600 to 700 attempts flew by with no progress, and it was the same even for the Exomex and even Calamitous. I didn't record it since there was a faint hope of me maybe getting the boss low and then me pressing the record button and defeating them, but that never happened. And after dying so many times and not seeing any bit of progress, I didn't want to play anymore. And at the end of Calamity was too much for me. And I'm not masochistic enough to keep going when I'm not having fun. And so that leaves 4 bosses undefeated. Those bosses were just a little too much for me. And don't get me wrong, this mod is absolutely great. No complaints with it whatsoever. I'm just really bad at the game. That's it. But I do hope to come back at a later time when I hopefully have a friend to slog through this experience with. And maybe when I'm more skilled and just have more time to just sit down and play. And if you enjoyed my suffering, please leave a like, or even a dislike actually. Go to the comments and tell me I have a skill issue, because I really do. But I do want to mention that my favorite NPC was the drunk princess. Somebody get this woman her car keys. And I'm just gonna go play Deep Rock Galactic.